you've never seen.
And joining me now is Democratic Senator Chris Coons of Delaware. Senator, thank you very much for joining us. And I do want, unfortunately, we just lost Senator Coons, but we will try to get him up in a moment. In the meantime, stay with us. We'll be right back.
When I look in the mirror every day.
Every day,
I think how fortunate I am.
I think, is today going to be the day that we find a cure?
I think how much I can do to help change people's lives.
I may not benefit from those breakthroughs, but I'm sure
I'm bringing forward a treatment for Alzheimer's disease, yes. In my lifetime, I will make sure.
Tennis training has evolved in really weird ways. Just ask the Bryan brothers. The Izod Performance Stretch Chino with SportFlex expandable waistband.
Managing blood sugar is a series of smart choices. And when you replace one meal or snack a day with Glucerna, made with Carb Steady to help minimize blood sugar spikes, you can really feel it. Now with 30% less carbs and sugars. Glucerna.
I feel incredibly grateful that I stumbled upon Talkspace. I was matched to the perfect therapist. She makes me think in the best way possible. This has been a life-changing experience.
Join more than 500,000 people who already text their therapist wherever they go. For only $32 a week. Join now and get $35 off. Talkspace, therapy for how we live today.
I have always wanted to get my teeth fixed. And you'll see as a kid, I had this huge smile. And then over time, I lost my confidence.
Let Smile Direct Club give you a smile you'll love for 60% less than braces by sending invisible aligners direct to you. Plus, we straighten most smiles in an average of 6 months.
There wasn't any crazy appointments I had to make. I'd never even feel that there. And changing my smile was important to me. So I'm glad that I found Smile Direct Club.
Get started for 60% less at SmileDirectClub.com.
The United States has great strength and patience. But if it is forced to defend itself or its allies, we will have no choice but to totally destroy North Korea.
The Art of the Deal and America First at the United Nations for the first time today. We're back with more MTP Daily in just 60 seconds. Stay with us.
I love a good challenge, including when my 5-year-old draws a track for me to drive. And if I need a little help, my Q50 is there for the assist. The new Infiniti Q50 with drive assist technologies. Infiniti, empower the drive.
I was working for the CIA and Pablo Escobar.
That sounds made up, Barry.
No más, no más.
American made, rated R.
Keep your insights from prying eyes so they won't be used by anyone but you. The IBM Cloud, the cloud for enterprise, yours.
Welcome back. Joining me now, finally, is Senator Chris Coons of Delaware. Senator, it was a hard time getting you connected, but I'm glad you are here. Welcome.
Thank you, Katie. Great to be with you.
I want to talk about what we initially were leading into you with, which was this idea that Senator Graham is basically using Senator Sanders' pitch for universal health care, a single-payer system, as a way to get other Republicans on board to pass this thing quickly before September 30th. Do you think that Senator Sanders' rallying cry for single-payer backfired?
Well, Katie, what I wish we were focusing on is the strong bipartisan work that's been going on here in recent weeks between Republican Senator Lamar Alexander and Democratic Senator Patty Murray. They are the chair and ranking of the Health Committee. And after the failure by the Republican majority in August to repeal the Affordable Care Act, they began working diligently together, as we should have been for the last 7 months, bringing in governors of both Republican and Democratic states, bringing in insurance commissioners from around the country, bringing in leaders in healthcare, and working on a balanced bipartisan package. Your question about Senator Sanders' bill is a reminder that there are several Democratic senators who have introduced aspirational or hopeful bills that would further expand access to health care. What is most troubling about this latest Trump care effort, this Graham-Cassidy bill, is that it's an effort that will lead to a reduction in how many Americans have access to health care. When the CBO finally gets to review it, I think they will estimate something like 10 million Americans will initially be thrown off of health care by this latest attempt at repealing the ACA. So yes, I think appealing to Sanders is a red herring that is just a distraction from what's really going on here this week, a bipartisan effort and a very partisan effort.
You're
the
calling
bipartisan effort to save the ACA and a very partisan effort to repeal it.
You're calling it aspirational or hopeful. Does that mean that this single-payer system doesn't have any shot for you?
Well, Katie, we're in a Republican Congress. Republicans control the Senate and the House and the White House. Yes, I don't think in this Congress there is any chance that a single-payer bill is going to pass.
If Democrats take control of Congress in 2018, do you think that that is a possibility? Would you sign on to it?
Well, what we ought to be focusing on, Katie, is what's going to expand health care for Americans and what's going to restrict it. If the Graham-Cassidy bill passes next week, it will end Medicaid as we know it. It will eliminate all the consumer protections in the ACA by giving states the opportunity to repeal them, and it will lead to a less healthy America. That's what I think we ought to be focusing on, and I think pointing at the Sanders bill is just another attempt at distracting us from the very high stakes right before us in a vote that will be taken next week.
Well, given that, don't you wish Senator Sanders may have waited a few weeks so that the September 30th deadline passed and a bipartisan vote would have been necessary for something like health care?
I do think it's important for us to focus on the very strong bipartisan efforts being made by Patty Murray and Lamar Alexander and many others.
Not quite what I asked, Senator. Not quite what I asked.
Oh, Katie, what did you ask?
I asked, would you have rather seen Bernie Sanders wait until after September 30th to talk about Medicare for all so that it was not a distraction for the Republicans, for them to use that as a rallying cry to get the Graham-Cassidy bill pushed through?
Katie, as you well know, Senator Sanders has been talking about universal health care access, I think, virtually his whole career in the Senate. The timing of his bill introduction, yes, I wish it had been put off by a couple of weeks. But I also didn't anticipate, and he probably didn't either, that Graham-Cassidy would pick up this much steam and that Republicans would try one more time to pass Trump care and repeal the Affordable Care Act.
If it does get passed in the Senate, do you have any hope of stopping it in the House?
I think it's likely it will struggle in the House because unlike the Senate, where we represent entire states, in the House, there's a lot of Republicans who are in states that here in the Senate are represented by Democrats. So in states like New York, for example, you've got a lot of Republicans in upstate New York who probably wouldn't support this bill, but we don't know. What we shouldn't be doing here, Katie, is playing Russian roulette with the American healthcare system. Already, both the American Medical Association and the American Hospital Association have come out saying they oppose this further destabilizing of America's healthcare system. The Graham-Cassidy bill would cause chaos in the individual markets, right as insurance companies are supposed to be making decisions next week about whether they will continue to provide health insurance. Think about how much this would destabilize both health insurance and health care across the country.
Senator, I want to get your reaction to the president today at the UN talking about attacking North Korea if necessary. What did you think when he said those words?
Well, Katie, there were some strong parts of the speech and there were some very concerning parts of the speech. He is right to stand up in the World Forum like the UN and call Iran on its violations of human rights and its ballistic missile program, and to say that North Korea should be resisted by the world community when it threatens South Korea, Japan, and the United States. So I will applaud President Trump for his continued forceful leadership as we tried to assemble a world coalition against North Korea. But there were also aspects of his speech that were unhelpful at best. Calling Kim Jong-un by a nickname, Rocket Man, which is really more suited for Twitter or, frankly, for a schoolyard spat than for the United Nations, and threatening to walk away from the Iran deal, which is exceptionally unhelpful if his real goal is to pull together our allies and potential partners from around the world in applying more pressure on North Korea.
Senator Chris Coons, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Katie.
And Senator Coons will be joining a host of world leaders and celebrities for this weekend's Global Citizens Festival here in New York City. He'll speak about foreign aid to help